it's also providing a challenge on our side. But another thing is that, you know, there is this saying that says charity begins at home. And I don't want to, and this is not intended to talk bad of anyone, you know. It is just that it is something that hits closer to home. And I know that I did make a comment in one of the interaction with the minister some years back around it. And it is unfortunate that I'm going to say it, but the DG is not here, you know, to say for himself. But the bottom line is that I know that the DG is also a member of ASSAf, and he is also in areas with his membership fees. And so, you know, I've engaged him at you know, on a one-on-one basis, and it would have been better if he was here to, you know, to make a comment from him. But as I said, I do respect his position, but in that case, I just wanted to leave it at that with regard to that, Honorable Chairperson.
Thanks, Morakeng. Sorry, Chairperson, there's two more issues that were asked of us. And the one was, how do we get to the 2% target with respect to improving on our number of women and Black academics in the academy? Chair, that was done by analyzing the increments in the past couple of years. And while we normally remain static or improve by 1%, we set our targets higher with the hope that our roadshows and those things that we were doing to improve on the membership would change the activity. So we still keep it there. It's not just a thumbs up. It is based on the evidence that we have. And in fact, one of our council members, Professor Pick, is a theoretical analyst, and he has been helping us work with some of the data to do projections for the future. The second part was the uptake of our recommendations. We do the best that we can to launch and to continue with this, but sometimes we agree that we can do better. And we have discussed this with the DG also to see how the department, who is our line management, could assist us in using, you know, their affiliates in the different sectors to help us to promote this. And we're hoping that the interministerial committee, where our minister has access to other ministers, could also be a portal for us to have inroads into reaching out to other divisions. Chairperson, I know you are mindful of time, and we thank you very much. And we do hope that we can engage with you more frequently than just to talk about the annual report, because particularly you have all this energy that we would like to benefit from. So if it is possible, we would be happy to meet you outside of reporting on the annual report if your time of yourself and the committee is available, so that we could harness our activities around the thinking that you have as well. So thank you very, very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much to all three colleagues that have just presented. I was trying to figure out at which point do I try and protect the DG and interview. You know, when the CFO was speaking, I could tell that whatever he was about to say, maybe, yeah, you know. But your comment, CEO, on coming to, you know, for a while of us having engagements beyond the annual performance plans or the annual reports is really noted. And I think our colleagues in the Secretariat responsible for science and innovation and the content advisor would be very are excited to hear that particular comment coming from yourself, because it means that it will add to our repository of engagements that we need to have in the sciences. So thank you very much, Prof. Sudial, and to Prof. Isaac as well. I'd like to then hand over to SACNASP with Prof. Napawe and Dr. Oboko.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for questions and comments that were raised. For the interest of time, I'm going to be very brief, and then I will hand over the more difficult questions to Dr. Oboko and management. The first one related to the service provider, I think management will respond. We welcome the input or comment on the issues of the face-to-face versus online webinars, which also management will give some response on that. More importantly, significantly, on behalf of SACNASP, we welcome the input from members on the request for budget increase, especially that could assist us greatly in terms of catering for our bad debts, and also to improve on our CPD and CMP offerings. I believe the question on the DDM, it is already indicated all the three entities should provide written responses on the plans thereof, which we will oblige. We really welcome the issue of inclusivity and transformation, as indicated by the CEO during a presentation. We really take this quite seriously, and you will realize that our registration by gender, majority of our scientists, 55% are female, but more significantly during the presentation, I noted that cumulatively on our database, 80% of registered scientists are below the age of 40 years of age, which really they are within the youth range. But we are going to go back and reflect on this and develop more interventions in regard to that. Management will also respond to the criteria for identification of mentors and mentees, and also issues of the events that we conduct. Management will also give feedback on the institutional review progress thereof, and also the issue of the bad debts that we have, and also the value thereof. I believe the issue of the new bill will be better served if we provide a written response on the question that was raised, and also on the matter of the report that we are launching next week on the pathways towards employment and underemployment. We are better suited to provide a written response on that, but I can just bring one or two high-level highlights on the report, which indicated that the report really emphasized that training at higher education institutions for natural scientists develop the theoretical foundations of the disciplines, but lack in terms of internship, work integrated learning experience, and workplace-based learning that are integral when the graduates go to look for employment out there. Also significantly, the report recommended greater collaboration between the post-school education and training sector, SACNASP, and other relevant stakeholders within the NSI. In light of also what was indicated by members, the report indicated the need to develop avenues to support and raise the profile of female gender in the enrollment, throughput, and outcome of the natural science graduates. Lastly, at a very high level, which is very significant, a report indicated the need to integrate and stimulate entrepreneurship mindset instead of training for job seekers. I'll hand over to Dr. Oboko to then respond to the rest of the questions. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and the members. Due to the load shedding this site, I request to maybe stop the video for now, and then I'll engage on the various questions. Firstly, really just to say thank you to the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee for the warm welcome and really to indicate that, we are very much serious with the work that has been given to the national, to SACNASP in delivering on its mandate, and especially from a transformation perspective. Hence, you have seen some of the indicators, but also the work that has been delivered so far. So let me start, Chair, by maybe providing some clarity on the questions which were raised by Honorable Mananiso in terms of the appointment of a service provider. I think during the presentation, we did mention that the target for 2021-2022 was to provide a service provider and also to draft the terms of reference for the appointment. So we did draft the terms of reference as part of the achievement, but we also indicated that we have not yet concluded with the appointment. So it's not an SCM process in the sense that we're not seeking a deviation from the SCM processes, but that particular activity is pending for now until we appoint or we establish a study reference group. So from our engagement with the DSI, it was important that before we embark on this very important exercise, that we have a study reference group composed of experts, the scientists, who will really advise on the terms of reference that will then be given to the service provider to ensure that the study that is then conducted, as well as the recommendation, they're quite holistic, but also very directed, so that we can then have a study that we can take on board and be able to implement. And then on the institutional review from Honorable Litsie, I'm also happy to indicate that ASSAf was coming on board in October. We had actually the review panel having been appointed, and they started their work. And currently, I'm happy to also report that they are conducting interviews. So there's a very big and long list, and that Professor Sudiala is actually one of the members of the review panel. So the date for the completion of that work will be in March 2023, and understanding that December and January, there's quite a lot of our people taking on holidays, but we are on course in terms of the work plan that we have developed and also the timelines that we have set, to ensure that we have the report by the end of March 2023. So with regards to the questions on the webinars, our science engagements, as well as communication activities, we do have a good story to tell. Indeed, because of the environment, the prevailing environment at that time, most of the engagements were through webinars. But I want to provide confidence to the portfolio committee that now we have a more holistic and a much better outreach program. And I'll request Dr. Matabane to just allude to that and provide more inputs into that program. And then with regards to the VA, our candidate mentoring program, our operations manager, Ms. Sarah, will also provide some inputs in terms of how do we identify mentors and the mentees, and where are these events taking place. And more than that, our finance manager, Mr. Mangalana, will also deal with the questions on bad debts. And of course, from the 13,000 scientists that we've registered, how many really do they have, or some of them have all the bad debts, and how then, what are the strategies going forward? And then, yes, and then perhaps as the chair has indicated, if you can indulge us, we've noted most of the questions from Honorable Letsie, which are very comprehensive, and we want to provide a written response so that we can adequately address those questions. And then on the bill, our colleagues from DSI will be able to also provide some inputs into that on the questions of what is it that has changed, or what are we introducing and why. And then of course, towards the end, then I'll invite then our scientists, since they did not get a chance really to introduce themselves through the video, to do likewise. So in that order, I'll request Dr. Matabane, Ms. Sarah, and then Mr. Mangalana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Good morning to Madam Chair and the members of the Portfolio Committee. Just to add on to what our CEO just said, due to the pandemic, as a council, we had to ensure a strong online presence, and through these webinars, we were able to reach a far wider audience. I'd like to add that just like our colleagues at ASSAf, we are also transitioning into using a blended, or rather hybrid approach, to ensure that we do reach a wider audience. And I just want to touch on the matter regarding the sponsorship. Just briefly, we are affiliated with a strong and a diverse network of voluntary associations. And currently we are affiliated with 47 of these registered voluntary associations. They play a critical role in training and development of our registered natural scientists. And this is through conferences, congresses, or symposiums. So these voluntary associations are the ones that organize these conferences, and we support them. For the reporting period under review, majority of these were online. However, we've seen recently that they are all over the country hosting these conferences for scientists. Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Chair and members of Parliament. Just briefly, in relation to the selection of the VA mentees and mentors, the mentees are predominantly, they must be registered candidate natural scientists. Their fees must be fully paid up, and we advise the VAs that they should have 70% of the mentees must be female, and the 30% male. And then the mentors are then matched with the fields of practice and with the locations of the mentors. That obviously a lot, as Dr. Matabane just said, if this was done online, we try to make sure that they are matched by locations so that going forward, face-to-face communications. And for example, when we were looking this morning for some mentees to come and address this morning's meeting, a lot of the South African Wetland Society mentees were with their mentors in a field exercise doing some training. So the work is done by the voluntary associations, but we give them a guideline as to who and what the capabilities of the mentor and what they are training the mentees in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Van Aert, for the response. We'll move on then to our financial manager, Mr. Mangalana.
Thank you so much, CEO. I'll just try and put this. I'll switch off my video because we are on load shedding. I'll start with the second question, I think, on the bed debts from Mr. Honorable Mr. Letzi. His question was, from the 13,000, registered scientists, how many were written off in the year of review? We have written off 2,333, and the value of that is just shy of 6 million. However, as well, for the current year, or the year that is under review, we have made provision for about 2,956. The value of that, it's 2,286,000. The provision is just an estimate to say, okay, from those that are still owing, 2 year plus, according to our act, they can actually be written off. This figure as well for the 2,333. The previous year, we did not write off any scientists that were owing. So if you look at it, what it was projected then, it was 1,610, those that were owing then, and they were not written off. So if you look at the difference, it's about 720 some, 23, I think so, in terms of those that were added into the list. Of course, there are those that are paying, and we have seen a number of people coming back into the system through what you call it, a reinstatement. So they get reinstated, back into the system. The first question was what progress we have made in terms of the bad debts. Madam Chair, the task team has been established. I think its key focus area, or the reason for establishing this task team, was the members' retention, and its sole purpose was to assess the current situation regarding the bad debts and the retention, and also the intervention from management or SACNASP, also to identify and the retention and expansion growth. The work plan focuses on the collection, also the improved communication and retention strategy, and as well as looking at regulation to be able to to promote the integrity of science and to execute the regulatory function of SACNASP. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you, CEO.
No, thank you for the responses, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, and also from our Council Chair. I believe we have fully exhausted all the questions which were posed to SACNASP. If you may allow, Chair, I don't know whether we can then request or invite the natural scientists. They've been with us since their presentation, to just show their faces and greet the members of the Portfolio Committee before we conclude on our engagement with the Portfolio Committee.
That's fine, CEO.
All right, thank you, Chair. I'll then call upon Ms. Mary Joy to come on board and to greet Masetlane, and then Mr. Puti Letswalo. Please, if you can greet the members of the Portfolio Committee. Thank you. We are still on mute, Mary Joy. Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It was a pleasure to be part of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then now I'll call upon Mr. Putiane Letswalo.
Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to give our testimonies with regard to the registration of scientists within the SACNASP structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I think then we've concluded from ourselves. Let me take this opportunity to thank the chairperson of SACNASP and also the members who are present, really, for your guidance, as well as the management team. And I think we are very much on board to realize the objectives as well as the mandate of SACNASP. Thank you, Chair, once more for your leadership and support, and also our colleagues from DSI. I'll hand over now to the Chairperson of Council for the concluding remarks.
Thank you, CEO and management, for responding to those items. I would like to take this opportunity just to thank the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and members, especially also our council members who are present. But lastly, I want to once again appreciate the wonderful support that we receive from the DSI and the Office of the Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, colleagues from SACNASP. At this point, I'd like to hand over to DDG Guguzwane for responses from the department.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honorable members and all the colleagues from entities. Can I also please request that I switch off my camera? I've been kicked off 4 times since the meeting started, so just not to risk it, I will switch off my camera now. Thank you for the presentations and as well as the responses. I will be responding on just two issues that are related to NACI. The first one, the burning one, being the CEO appointment. I must agree, Chairperson and honorable members, that it is regrettable that we find ourselves where in 2022, towards the end, we still say that we haven't appointed the CEO. Like Dr. Mepudi said, there have been several attempts to do so, but at the end, the whole process will collapse because of this and that. However, I am also must report that we have had the selection panel sitting on the 24th of October to shortlist. And I have been promised, because the only thing that is kind of like outstanding now is the coordination of diaries, that we might find ourselves having interviewed before we go on to the December break. So we're looking at hopefully conducting the interviews before the 15th of December. This must happen, and I have been working with the relevant offices, especially because if we find ourselves getting to February 23rd and this process has not moved forward, we would be forced legislatively to start the process all over again. So it's quite important that we do meet this particular goal as soon as possible, Chairperson. Also, in terms of the renewal of NACI, yes, like the acting CEO has said, together with Dr. Mepudi, they did submit to the department. We also did our own analysis of the proposals. We have since submitted to the minister, and we are just waiting for him to indicate if the recommendations are acceptable for him. In terms of the timelines, because we are re-looking at the NACI Act as well, we have been advised by the legal experts that we are looking at something like 18 months to 2 years. But I'm saying 18 months to 2 years, this was about maybe 3 to 4 months ago. So we're looking at just above a year to about 18 months to finalize the process. And in terms of all the other inputs that we were coming from the honorable members, we've noted them. I do realize that there could be some elements where we might need to respond in writing, but we do note some of the inputs, and we will make sure that we integrate them and also work with the relevant entities that are present in making sure that they are addressed, especially considering all the inputs that are associated with the decadal plan as we move forward in that area. That said, Chair, thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to the entities for presenting, and also the inputs that we always get, which is valuable to us from the honorable members. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Diriji Kukuzwane. Thank you very much to all colleagues from the three entities that presented before us, chairs, presidents, CEOs, CFOs, beneficiaries, everyone really who participated in this afternoon's or this morning leading into this early afternoon's engagement. Thank you very much to honorable members. The science, the National System of Innovation remains a very exciting space for us as a committee. It's a space of hope. It says to us not everything is doom and gloom. It says to us there's great potential, and it says to us there is some sort of development that is taking place in our country. Not even some sort, there is a lot of development that's taking place in our country. So we really appreciate the engagements that we have with colleagues in this national system of innovation. We implore on yourselves to uphold the legacy, the good legacy of the department and its entities. So we really need to resolve this matter in NACI and ensure DDG Zwane that it doesn't lapse and we start all over. It just doesn't make sense to me at all how we found ourselves in that situation, but maybe it's a conversation that one needs to continue to have with the DG and the minister, because it really, I can just imagine those colleagues who act, you know, acting CEO, Dr. Celo, we are acting njengathi Hollywood. I don't think it's fair on our colleagues who clearly have the capacity of leading these institutions. It's unfair for us to put them in such awkward positions. But we really want to indicate that we look forward to the responses of the detail that you have not been able to get to in this meeting, and the requisite time for you to send us that detail is within 7 working days. And then we want to wish you all the best as you reflect on your performance in this particular financial year, and as you put together your plans going into the next year. Please do take into consideration our recommendations as you continue to plan, and because we find that this reporting session or period should allow us to reflect and to do better moving forward. I think I'd like to leave it at that for now, and to say that, you know, on certain matters we have been brought into confidence, and we're happy that colleagues are reflecting on the interface that we want to see between the various entities, and that we're not duplicating roles, but that there is greater synergy within the work that we're doing, particularly in strengthening the national system of innovation. And as we, you know, as a government, reflect on these silos that we have, and commit ourselves collectively as a government to you know, greater collaboration through, for example, the district development model and other interventions of government. So really, colleagues, thank you very much. We will continue to try our best as a committee to lobby our colleagues to you know, participate in your programs. NACI, for example, you know, we are trying as a committee to make our colleagues across government understand how science is an integral part of development across government, right? It's not a DSI issue. So we're really hoping that as you do the work that you do, that the reports that you put together will be well received by various government departments, entities, and so forth. So thank you very much to yourselves, colleagues and honorable members. This meeting has come to an end. Just a reminder to honorable members that next week, Wednesday, we're having a physical meeting as we receive a briefing by the Department of Higher Education and various stakeholders on the state of readiness for the academic year 2023. Thank you so much. This meeting has come to an end.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.